And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a special show that we're doing on a Monday here. We're going to discuss the invasion of Venezuela by President Trump and the FBI and our law enforcement agencies. And we're going to talk about how this impacts America, and especially how it impacts the Black community. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And folks, first let me give all praises to Yah and my Lord and Savior Yahusha. That's God and Jesus Christ. In Hebrew, I spoke. And I want to welcome everybody to the show. Well, Happy New Year to everybody. But over the weekend, we had something that happened that changed the history of our country. President Trump went in and took out a dictator, Moro, whatever. But let the truth be told, there's a lot of politicians who are crying about it. And let me be honest, people, to the American people and patriots across this country, it's the Democrats. The Democrats have shown their hand here in America to be ruthless, killing people. The corruption ranged all the way down to Barack Obama, the Hillary Clinton, the Bidens, and all of them. Every Democratic president and some Republicans have done everything that they could to destroy this country. Drug flows in America as if it's Kool-Aid. It's in our schools. It basically mostly impact the Black community. But this new fentanyl drug has crossed over the line and has entered the white community and everybody else's community, and it became a problem. Long as Black people was on crack and on fentanyl, standing in statue positions, it didn't make a big impact into the Caucasian community. But now that it has, something is being done about it. And I want to applaud President Trump for taking the steps to make this country great again. For he set something in motion that a lot of the Republicans, and let me say this, to the American people and patriots across this country, if people are complaining about what the president did, it's because most of them are on the payroll over in Venezuela with the cartel. Different list of names of senators and all of that is coming out now that they've captured this drug kingpin. And now the American people will actually get to see all those politicians. And I bet you Barack Obama, Tim Walz, Eli Omar, all those people, Hillary Clinton, Brandon Johnson, the governors, J.B. Pritzker, we can tell by the way it's all set up that they're a part of it. And they're saying that, let me get my people in so we can get this thing going. Hey, Dre.
How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well.
Guys, I want to get your thoughts on this event over the weekend. I support President Trump 100%. It's time that we make this country great again and be the superpower that we are. What's your thoughts, Randy?
Happy New Year, y'all.
Happy New Year to you, Randy.
So we kick off the new year with taking over a country, right? And that's what essentially happened, ladies and gentlemen. You have to carefully listen to the words President Trump utilized over the weekend, and that was, "We're going to run the country. We're going to bring in the assets and everything to get the oil. $17 trillion worth of oil is in Venezuela, ladies and gentlemen. Venezuela has one of the largest oil deposits in the world. They have more oil than Saudi Arabia. So let's be clear here that Venezuela could potentially be a territory of the United States. So that's where things are at from my perspective. And but what happened was that Nicolas Maduro was only a precursor. No one gives a damn about him pushing drugs and everything else around the world. No one really cared at the end of the day. Because to your point, Pastor Lowry, everyone partook in that. You know,
Yes.
so he's no different than Noriega back in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
He was no different than what's the cat Pablo Escobar.
Yes.
No different. And these guys skated around for decades doing the same thing. No different than who we currently got, that's pushing drugs and whatnot. Vladimir Putin over in Russia, China with the fentanyl. If we really cared about taking out people for drugs, these current characters would have been taken out as well. So let's be clear here, ladies and gentlemen, that this is about taking over a country and its resources. Period. Full stop.
Andre?
Well, before we move on, of course, I have to give my disclaimer that Numbers USA is a single subject organization. We only talk about immigration. But I will not be representing Numbers USA on this call. But I will talk a little bit about immigration. But before we do that, I like to harken back to what actually happened. In the dead of night, around 1 a.m., we started attacking them by land, air, and sea. We attacked them so swiftly and so quickly that they couldn't respond. We were able to send our Delta Strike Force team in to get Maduro, and we were out of the country and on a boat at 3 a.m. And then they took a plane and they were able to get him to New York within the hour. So that is just crazy efficiency, but in and out of the country in 2 hours, and then another hour to transfer him to New York is just crazy. So the military might and the strategy, the investment in our troops. A lot of people complain about how much we're spending on military funding, but just look at what we were able to do and what we were able to show the rest of the world. So I didn't want to leave this show without talking about how great our military is, our leadership for the military, because a lot of people had questions about Pete Hegseth and Trump's trust in his administration and his ability to lead and make decisions. So I wanted to start there. But I also wanted to look at the immigration aspect of this, because prior to this attack, you had a third of the Venezuelan population that was in the diaspora. They left that country. Now, is it because of Maduro? Is it because of socialism? Is it because of a lot of different things? Maybe. But if history comes out and as a result of this action, more people go back to Venezuela, less people are leaving, then I think that this will be in history a success. But if it ends up being like a money grab, people are still out there traveling the world trying to find a better life for themselves, and we're still hearing that people migrating from Venezuela is still a problem, then history will look at it and they'll frown upon it and they'll call it what it is.
Doc?
Well, I'm really hoping that we don't get another Yemen. right? Or Syria.
Mm,
I'm just saying
mm,
because those are always possible with regime changes. It's like just because you went in and you think you cleaned it up, who did you leave it open up to? Right?
mhm.
Yes.
These people right now, they're just bare. There is no leadership. The cartels are still there. You took one. You took
Yeah.
the
But
lead guy, but you didn't take all the other guys, right?
Yeah.
So what are we doing? And I
Mhm.
appreciate President Trump because he told us in his first term, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to do stuff, and then I'm going to tell you later, and then we'll talk about it. And so he's true to his word.
yeah,
Like
yes,
I gotta
exactly.
respect it. I
Mhm.
respect it. But
Yep.
again, we have to make sure that we're not leaving a vacuum open for a worse terrorist organization than Al Qaeda, because that happened. We've done
Let
that
me.
before, and it happened under
Go ahead,
Obama.
Randy.
I want to dovetail on what Dr. Shack just said there, a power vacuum. And it's very important for the American people to understand that uh, in regime change operations that's led by the United States over history, we have jacked that up so bad. Look at Libya to this very day.
Mm-hmm.
The Obama administration
Yeah.
took out Umar Gaddafi and
Yes.
left a power vacuum that still is disrupted today, to this very
Yes.
day. And that happened back in 2011. Look at Iraq.
Mhm.
Iraq got
Mm-hmm.
destabilized, and under
Mhm.
the Bush administration, and I was there 3 times, and so I
Yeah.
know firsthand what that looks like.
Yeah.
So you look at, and oh, by the way, everybody tends to forget about Haiti, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
do Haiti a
Yeah.
disservice. President Moisey was taken out during the Biden
Yes.
administration
Mm-hmm.
because he was going to expose the Clinton and Bill Gates foundations.
Yes,
And
Yes.
he was.
so the president of Haiti was taken out, and that country is still destabilized. So the
Yeah.
difference with this particular operation with Venezuela is that this administration is saying we're going to go in and run the
Yes.
country. So there is no power vacuum. So there is no
Yes.
disruption. We're going to
Mhm.
make sure the infrastructure is rebuilt so we can get what we need out of this and give it back, give some of it. He said some of it to
No.
the Venezuelan people. So
What? Yep.
there's a slight difference. It's yet
Mhm.
remain to be seen how this is going to
Right.
play out. But at least they know that, hey, we can't do what the United States has previously done
Yeah.
in these other countries. So we did just kind of like sit back and buckle up and watch this ride go on, because like I said, I think Venezuela is going to end up becoming a territory of the United States.
And
Mm.
rightfully so. I watched President Trump after this happened, and that's exactly what he said. He said he is not going to just take this guy and leave it for the cartels to put another person
Mhm.
in.
Right.
So
Right.
America will start to run
Okay.
this country, and the American people should be happy because oil prices and gas prices is going straight down now. With us
Yeah.
working with Venezuela in a legitimate type way instead of what the Democrats did with all the dope, selling kids and all of that, then our country is going to prosper. Venezuelans are going to prosper, and it would be a great deal. And it also shows how America can come back in. But guys, let me play this clip, and then I want your thoughts on it.
We begin with the latest from Venezuela,
where U.S. forces executed a well-planned, long-rehearsed military operation to oust leader Nicolas Maduro from power. This was Maduro hours later, taking a so-called perp walk in federal custody in New York. In a moment, we'll have a little history, but first, a look at how they did it from David Martin.
The operation to capture Nicolas Maduro and his wife began at 10:46 Friday night, when President Trump unleashed an air assault into the heart of Venezuela's capital.
Aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing.
According to Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane, the fighter jets and bombers knocked out Venezuelan air defenses and command centers, clearing the way for helicopters carrying Delta Force commandos into Maduro's fortified compound.
The helicopters began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water.
For months, the U.S. has been building up its forces in the Caribbean, while CIA agents inside Venezuela tracked Maduro.
How he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets.
President Trump's very public pressure campaign against Maduro had put the Venezuelans on alert. Still, Kane said, they did not see the Americans coming.
We assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise.
With President Trump and his top aides watching from Mar-a-Lago, Delta Force hit Maduro's compound at 1:01 Saturday morning Eastern Time.
The helicopters came under fire, and they replied with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit, but remained flyable.
This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night.
No American soldiers were killed, but several were wounded in the firefight as Maduro and his wife tried to flee to a safe room.
He was trying to get into a safe place. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it.
Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire.
The helicopters with Maduro and his wife on board were back over the water less than 5 hours after the operation began. Maduro now faces narco-terrorism and drug trafficking charges. Venezuela faces an uncertain future.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Solo presidente en este país que se llama Nicolás Maduro Moro.
Venezuela's vice president denounced the operation as illegal and demanded Maduro's release. President Trump said she sang a different tune in a phone call with Secretary of State Rubio.
She said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice.
The president said the U.S. military is ready to launch a second, bigger wave of attacks if Venezuela does not do what he says.
All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them.
Okay.
All right, Dre, you up? You up, Dre? What's
gangster.
up?
Listen,
Gangster.
The disappearer in chief is not playing games. Okay, like a lot of people have been complaining
I
that
ain't no
he's
punk.
disappearing people in the United States. Now he's taking the show on the road internationally, and he's not playing games. And he's turned this military into a well-oiled machine. We saw what it was before in Afghanistan, where we had that horrible pullout. It has been a lot smooth. It has been a lot more precise and efficient. It is so great to be alive at this time, because the things that we are seeing right now is unprecedented in our history. So those my 2 cents about it. I love that reporting. Like, I'm glad that there were no American casualties and
Not
we had
one.
limited damage to our equipment.
Yes.
Doc?
Well, the vice president, she was singing a different tune because they were like, oh, do you want to be in jail too? Look, you can come too. We can pick you right up just along with him. So sit tight. You know what I'm saying? Do your job. But yeah, because somebody earlier asked me the same question. It's like, so should this person, the vice president be, take up? Absolutely not. He's calling for his release. So you're okay with this criminal activity? No. And in my opinion, they needed to swoop her up too. Because you need to cut, if you're going to cut out one piece of the cancer, you got to cut it all out. You got to get everybody. Or otherwise you're going to create that vacuum that we were talking about by leaving people behind that will create these cells and these networks that will later on just kind of start breeding and brewing, just like Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and other terrorist organizations. You've got to cut out the cancer.
Randy?
2 points I have. So the first one is, remember back in January 8th through the 15th, that week, that the Biden administration put out a 15, then upped it to $25 million bounty on Nicolas Maduro, and said, he needs to be removed from power. So why the hell is the left and even some Republicans, they're mad that he actually got taken out? So there's that point. The second point,
because Trump was successful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it was. So that the second point I have is that Members of Congress are running around saying that they had no idea. We wasn't briefed. Oh my God, this is unlawful. What Trump has done. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not listen to that rhetoric and believe it for 1 nanosecond, because here's why. The CIA, the FBI, and everybody else in their mama been in and around that country for the last 2-3 months doing what they was doing to set up this operation. And you mean to tell me that your member of Congress who was on TV saying that they knew nothing about this? I would find them a replacement real quick, like, because, oh, by the way, we're in election season. What they're saying is that they're so inept that they did not know, or they was not briefed, which is a lie. Which is a lie, by the way.
Yeah,
because they knew. They all knew.
What the Ethics Ways and Means Committee?
Exactly.
Isn't there like another committee that sticks with the military? Like,
yes.
Stop.
Well,
Exactly.
it's the Democrats.
It's the gang of 8. The gang of 8 always knows what's going. They know they're in and out of the White House 24/7. The gang of 8. That's the leadership of both sides of the parties, ladies and gentlemen. For those that don't know who the gang I'm talking, gang of 8 I'm talking
Lindsey
about.
Graham is in there.
Yeah, all of them. They
all of them in there.
They knew. So don't buy that garbage that the members of Congress said no. So this is an impeachable offense. Yeah, shut up.
They always know.
But the sad thing of it is this. Now, if Joe Biden put a $25 million bounty on Maduro, and then it was jacked up to $50 million, then this is like taking out a drug dealer, which America was allowed to do. And so a lot of these politicians are crying about the fact he shouldn't have did it. He's a dictator. To the American people and patriots across this country, we elected President Trump to get this country back on track. He is doing exactly what he said he's going to do. And one thing I love about him is that he is not taking no crap off these leaders. And like you said, Doc, whenever he said he going to do something, he going to do it. But I think keeping it quiet was the best thing he did, because when they was over there's a couple of items that came up. Dominion machines was gotten over there that was used in the 2020 election to steal the election, just like Maduro did in Venezuela. So they got those machines. Plus they got ledgers of all the senators who they have been paying to open the borders and let their drugs into this country. See, that's why I'm saying you're not going to hear this from the regular news, because they don't want you to know. It's ran by the Democratic Party. It's the leftist news that's keeping all of this stuff quiet, because they want to continue to build on the fact that President Trump invaded somebody. That's wrong. But let's take a look at this. To the American people, listen to me closely. The war within is in this country. We just caught Tim Walz in Minnesota abusing the welfare system, using all our programs for the Somalis. They didn't even find out that Tim Walz ordered the hit on the politician that was killed a few months ago, because they was going to expose the Somali situation. Now, he's not acting alone. I can almost tell you who's all involved with this, because every Democrat who hollers and said this is wrong got their hands in the money bag.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's what that is. Your thoughts, Doc?
Absolutely. And, the fraud hasn't stopped with just Democrats. There's a Republican governor in Ohio that's facilitating fraud in his state. So this isn't just the Democrats. I just need people to know that this fraud, it's massive. But I didn't know about the $50 million bond on Maduro's head. I mean, y'all are looking crazy. How was Biden going to put out a bond and then Trump take care of it, and then you're mad?
Exactly.
The outrage. And then somebody else pointed out another thing. I guess in New York, they were doing a protest. Where did the signs come from? Nice, neat signs, brand new flags with the creases in them. How you coming outside protesting Venezuela all of a sudden? when this
Yeah.
happens. I mean, it's too orchestrated with some of these things these
Well,
NGOs are doing, and they need to cut
yes,
off the money.
yes,
Period. Cut it
and
off.
and to the American people and patriots, this cuts the money off. This
Yeah.
stopped the flow into our country. And so we shouldn't be listening to those Democrats and those Republicans who are continuing now to try to pick up steam and say, well, what Trump did is wrong. Well, if it was so wrong, Joe Biden would have never put a $25 million bounty on him under his own administration. So you see how the left continued to try to play the American people, but President Trump is not having that. He's sticking to his guns. He's doing what he's supposed to do for the American people, for the future of our children, and to shut down this fentanyl that's coming into our country and killing our schools. Guys, now listen to this. It has been only under the Democratic leadership that the American people and patriots across this country have had to endure and experience what Barack Obama did with the homosexuals in the schools, changing laws, all without permission of Congress, introducing another. And I mean it, as a pastor, it's pissing me off, because how do you think that you are God and you created another race of people called transgenders and tell God, go to hell, I don't give a damn about you? That was done with Barack Obama. And the American people are still running around holding him up like he was something, but he was nothing but a petty thief. So we, the people, now need to support what President Trump is doing, because all of this corruption has been done under the guise of the Democratic Party. And the American people need to see that. We need to see it, because they're the ones who are funneling the drugs in. They opened the borders. They allowing all the illegals. J.B. Pritzker just created a law that took effect. $2.5 billion are going to illegals in the state of Illinois for college education, housing, and everything. But you don't have any money to help Black people, or that's our money because we pay taxes for it. So Black people better understand, at this juncture in time, if we don't come out and support this president, then our communities is going to go to hell. Let me play this clip, man, and you guys can expound on it.
President Trump vowing to end the flow of illegal drugs into the U.S., starting with the capture of the Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro, now in a New York City jail facing indictments on narco-terrorism and drug trafficking. Our next guest served as acting DEA administrator under President Trump. Derek Maltz joins us now. Derek, welcome to you. You have seen a lot. You know a lot about the flow of drugs into this country. How big of a move is this on the part of the Trump administration?
Sandra, thank you for having me. This is outstanding for all Americans. As you know, Maduro has weaponized drugs. He exported the TDA monsters into America. But this president, as Secretary of State Marco Rubio said perfectly, is a president of action. I love that term because I'm sick and tired for the last 20-something years hearing all these politicians talking about taking action against drug traffickers. This is spectacular. We had an exceptional job done by the Department of War. I'm very proud as an American today to see how law enforcement, the DEA, Homeland Security, FBI, they stepped up, they integrated their activities. The intelligence community, spectacular intelligence. But as President Trump said, allegedly 97% of the drug flow into America has been stopped, right? Now, you look what he's done at the southern border. Like, you look at the statistics, like fentanyl into America has dropped in half, according to the CBP statistics, right? So we're seeing a significant decrease in activity. But, Sandra, let me just point out, when I was the acting administrator of DEA, something that haunted me, I went to Colorado and I went to the apartment complex that was actually taken over by these monsters. And what I couldn't believe is how they were extorting all the tenants in this apartment complex for the rent. So the landlord wasn't getting the rent. But the most disgusting part is that the local politicians were in denial. But law enforcement, the DEA, Homeland Security Investigations, FBI, state and locals, they went after it and they exposed it. So I'm very proud of the work that's been done so far, but we have a lot of work to do.
Derek, the president spoke very passionately about stopping the flow of drugs into this country, talking about losing 300,000 Americans to drugs a year in this country. When you look at the flow of drugs directly from Venezuela, it is our understanding there's only, they can only arrive by air by one route from Venezuela. But that's obviously not to say they're not coming from other countries along the way into the United States. We've sort of mapped out the drug smuggling routes that we know of out of Venezuela. Talk a little bit more to our audience about what you know about that.
What I know is this, that Colombia has record amounts of cocaine production, right? So that's our first problem, because we have a socialist guerrilla running that country. We already have threats to agents down in Colombia. So Colombia is a big, serious problem. And then drugs are flowing throughout the Caribbean, throughout Central America. A lot of these countries, as you know from previous investigations, high-level leaders of other countries have been indicted. I mean, look, the FBI director equivalent in Mexico, Genaro Garcia Luna, is in jail for his engagement in drug trafficking. So just because we took out the threat in Venezuela doesn't mean our job is over. Sandra, to be really frank, I'll tell you what's missing, and it's been missing for many years. We completely disregarded the addiction issues in America, the mental health issues. So until we start putting the same level of urgency into the demand side of this problem, I mean, again, we still have these very deadly chemicals coming out of China, not just fentanyl. We have nitazene, isonitazene, metanitazene, carfentanil, xylazine. So we have to do a lot better with other countries. We have to have more conversation. I'm very confident, though, what I'm seeing right now, we are on the right track. The other thing is they built up this Homeland Security Task Force apparatus. So for the first time in my career, 28 years in DEA, am I seeing U.S. law enforcement coming together like we've never seen before with the intelligence community, with the Department of War. But the big thing, Sandra, is the leadership from the top of all these agencies. So we have very clear direction that we are not going to tolerate the death and destruction of our country. Our citizens are going to be protected. So America First policies are working. And all these Democrats that are complaining should be watching the Venezuelan citizens that are celebrating around the world. And maybe they should be proud of our military. The bravery of going in and doing what they did yesterday was fabulous.
Your thoughts, Doc?
Well, because people forget Venezuela was doing all right. You know what I'm saying? They were doing okay until the cartel took over their government. And then people were eating off the zoo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They're one of the wealthiest countries aside from, to your point, Saudi Arabia. And so, yeah, we do have a problem here in America. It is the demand problem. But the demand goes back to these cities that are completely falling apart because crime pays. And without the crime, they cease to be in power to control the people. Like, this is a whole ecosystem that mainly the Democratic Party has perpetuated. And people might get mad. But if you're in the local area and your local area is drug ridden and you're not fixing it, you're part of the problem. Period. We have a supply problem, or demand problem. We're demanding, and somebody's supplying it. So, like, well, yeah, we'll give it to you if y'all want to kill yourselves off. Hey, we'll do it. If you want us to come over there and take over where people are stopped having babies and they're not going to school and they're not taking care of themselves, sure. But you are perpetuating this. You are purposely trying to kill off the American people, and it's just sad.
Randy?
100% agree with Doc. And you know, the other thing that is too is, you know, you have these cartels that are, you know, doing these things, you know, supplying it. The target should be not only them, but it should be the administrators of these states and these cities that allow them to come in. You start taking them out as well, along with the cartel members. Then you're going to see a whole new ecosystem, and where's Dr. Shaq develop, and they're going to say, oh, whoa, wait, who's going to take them out? The American people. Because we can't rely on the government to do it. We can't rely on the politicians to take themselves out. It has to be the American people that says, you know what, we're going to run against you in the next election and get out of here. And that's where it starts there.
Yes, and that's one of the things that, you know, I was talking to Doc about with her party, the Redemption Party, is that now that, you know, we can see both of these parties have bad apples in them. And so I think the American people need to be exposed to something new that can do the things that they're supposed to do in the political realm. And I think, Doc, this is a good time for us to really take a look, especially Black Americans, because Black people, the war is in the Black community. It's in our community, Randy and Doc. It's not in up north here in Chicago. It's not in Little Mexico. It's not in Chinatown. It is in the Black community. All of these drugs are brought directly into our community because the Black leadership in the major cities across this country, who are Democrats like J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson and Tim Walz and the mayor of that city, who are allowing these things to come in, and they're the ones who are poisoning our schools, poisoning our children, I mean, taking away our freedoms. So we have to really, as the American people, pay close attention to who we put into office, and we must vet them extremely before we cast our votes, because the midterms are coming. And I'm hoping that, especially in the Black community, enough should be enough for us now. It's not like the Black people not seeing who the real enemy is and how they let all the migrants come to our community and give money to them, but they hate Black people so bad. The Democrats hate Black people so bad that J.B. Pritzker gave $2 billion to illegals out of taxpayer money. And Black people in Illinois, how dare you vote for him? But he's destroying the state and destroying the city. I'm going to play this clip about some of the people who are happy that President Trump did what he did.
Look at this scene right now. Dozens and dozens of cars lining up, waving the Venezuelan flag. You can hear music, people embracing, tears of joy as they chant freedom, freedom for their country. I had the opportunity to speak to several of these families. There's a very interesting story. A woman who was meant to fly out of South Florida. She was supposed to head to North Carolina today. Guess what she did? She missed her flight. She said it was worth it. She had to be here in South Florida celebrating this huge moment for the Venezuelan community. I have right here with me Daniel. He's part of this community, and I want you to describe what that moment was like when you got the news overnight.
Well, it was a huge surprise for me. I woke up at 5 in the morning, and then I looked at my phone and I got like 1,000 messages for different group chats, okay? I mean, I got no words to explain what's going on right now. I think our people, our country deserves this for a long time. I haven't lived anything but Chavez and Maduro. So I'm beyond grateful. I mean, I think I'm so happy for Venezuela. This means everything. It's time for celebrate. Better times are coming.
And just like you, Daniel, a lot of people feel exactly the same way. They tell me they were born when Hugo Chavez was in power, then Nicolas Maduro, and all they know is a country with basically in the middle of poverty with so much economic hardship, and they've left everything behind in search for a better life. I also spoke with Angelica. Her story is unique. She got to the United States 3 years ago. She left everything behind, including her mom. And I want to know how significant this moment is. You've spoken to your mom, but you were telling me what you really look forward to one day is reuniting with her once again, Angelica.
No, doesn't words to explain. That is me, for all people, and for my mom. Definitely, I want to back to Venezuela. I have more than 5 years don't see my mom, so this is a year. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelica. That is the sentiment here today, a sentiment of joy. There is still some uncertainty as we continue to to see and monitor the situation in the region to see what comes next and how this whole transition will play out. I also asked them, have you spoken to your family members in Caracas? It's very interesting because within Caracas, the sentiment is very different. People are staying home. They are not heading out to the streets to celebrate. They are celebrating within their own homes because they are afraid. They are afraid of possibly seeing any acts of repression against them. So we will continue here live in the city of Doral in South Florida, speaking to the Venezuelan community as they celebrate.
Randy, your thoughts on it? Just like what you said, that a lot of people are going to celebrate because they see a better opportunity with America freeing and stopping the drugs. Because you would think a country with all this oil that it would be one of the most modern countries on the face of the planet.
It should look like Dubai. It should look like Dubai. You know, at the end of the day, the way how much resource they have. But to her point, and she brings up a very salient point, is that the people in Venezuela itself, they're not out in the streets celebrating. And so the media, ladies and gentlemen, be careful with this. The media is trying to spin it like, oh, they're upset and they think that they did a great thing. No, they're being strategic. They're like, we're not there. There's still cartel running around here. There's still, there's a military that was fighting against the U.S. They're still, running around. I'm not gonna go out there and celebrate this because then I'm gonna be a direct target as a retaliation or retribution. So yeah, I'm happy that this is done, but I'm going to be quiet about it until it's safe enough to, go out there and do these things. So people don't get it twisted that this was a bad thing for the people in Venezuela. They're just being smart about it. And so, for the people that's in the United States that are celebrating, they're celebrating for them. They're like, hey, we got it. We know you can't do anything right now, so we gonna party for y'all. So and that's what's going on. So that's what my take on that is. And I got some friends that's Venezuelan, so I'm gonna reach out to them and see and get some some boots on the ground intel as to what's going on with that, because it's just like when I was in Iraq, in 2003. When the invasion happened, we got there. The U.S. our unit, we got there a couple of months after the first wave. So we was basically the second wave coming in. There were people that were happy that we were there. They was like, "Thank you for doing this," and and all of that. And they would come onto our compound to celebrate. And then they would go back and pretend like, they hated us and all that. But we got it. We understood. We understood the assignment. It was like, okay, we get it. And they're like, oh, U.S., you rich. And like, oh, thank you so much. Oh my God. Hey, here's where you can get some of this food. And so
right,
it was that kind of relationship. And it's the same thing that's going on with Venezuela right now. They're happy, but they can't celebrate right now. So it is what it is, folks.
Doc?
Yeah, I was trying to think of the name of the El Salvadorian president that, he took his country back and he dog walked people and they are still in prison today. I was like, we need, like Trump, if you're listening, you need to hire that guy to get everybody on the go. Because he shut it down in his country. Like El Salvador, huh? What? We send people to their prison.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have people like that. I'm just saying, if you really want to clean this up, you need to bring in somebody who knows how to do it on the ground, like they did it, because they were extremely successful. Okay, he's not putting up with it, but that's one country in South America that would successfully took their country back.
Yep. President Nayib Bukele.
Oh yeah, he's straight. I'm not gonna call him a gangster like that, but he's strict.
He a straight G. You know what you're supposed to call him. That's what they call him. Trump. You know what? This Trump is a straight OG because we needed this type of leadership in America so that we could be respected again. Now, out of all the other presidents, nobody has taken this step to stop the destruction of our country. The drugs, the corruptions, the bad politicians, the Dominion machines that they used in America to steal an election. the list of all the senators and politicians who Moderna was paying. I mean, if the Democrats and Republicans, you're going to know who's on those lists because they're going to be the Chuck Schumers. They're going to be the politicians now who are going to run and try to create a mess. Just like you said, Doc, how could they get these signs made so quickly? It was because somebody knew something and they were able to try to counter it. They knew something,
and
man.
Now the American people are calling for the same thing. Now, if we can go over to another country and shut it down, it has to be shut down here.
It's got to be shut down.
Have to be brought to justice. They have to be. We can no longer just sit around like Tim Walz. You got to go to prison.
You got to go to prison.
Hochul, Eric Adams.
Yes.
You know, now Daddy, you ain't done nothing yet, so you're off the hook.
He done something. They stole the election.
Brandon Johnson.
Yes.
Karen Bass.
All of them.
Newsom. All of you need to be put in prison just for, violating basic federal laws by harboring illegal aliens. Period. We can put you in prison on that alone, up to 20 years.
Yep,
just that one count. Admittedly did it. Like, people are exhausted. They are ready for justice. It cannot continue. This fraud on top of everything happening in Venezuela. The American people are exhausted. We're tired of seeing everybody else get liberated, but we keep getting put upon, and it's at our expense because our tax dollars are paying for other people to be liberated, but we're not being liberated.
But go ahead, Randy.
I was just going to say, there's some retribution, or I should say some justice coming, because last night Congress had voted to remove Ilhan Omar. Representative
we got a vote?
They had a vote last night to remove her from Foreign Affairs Committee. So it's starting to trickle. Once they remove her from the committees, then they can remove her from Congress. So we'll see how that plays out.
But to the American people and patriots across this country, this is our country. We pay the taxes. We've built this country as a team. Black people have contributed to it, and yet look at our communities. My thought is, when somebody going to invade the Black community and get all the drugs out how come we can't see it ourselves? It's our community that's being invaded by these people when they come here, and Black politicians like Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker and Bass, all of them should be put in prison because they are allowing it to happen. Barack Obama was one of the key players to Venezuela in opening up our borders. Barack Obama, I bet you his name is on all of that stuff over there. Because think about this. There was over 20-some states, mostly all blue states, that wouldn't turn over their SNAP benefits.
Yes.
They wouldn't turn that over.
Yeah.
See, the same thing that's happening in Minnesota, Barack Obama helped implement that. So now it's in Illinois, it's in California, our dollars. And think about this. How is it that the Democrats like Jasmine Crockett, who talk a whole bunch of shit and they never did nothing for nobody? I'm so sick of her. How is it that you could be in Congress a short period of time and then you turn around and become a millionaire? Barack Obama is worth millions and millions of dollars. Millions. The last count, he was worth 70 million. That's what he's putting out there. But you don't see none of that wealth coming to our community, and you don't see it coming to the American people. And so we have to really understand who the enemy is, and the enemy within our country that's trying to destroy it are those who are allowing these things to happen. If you are not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And these politicians are part of the problem while we got the drugs and the way we're living, especially in the Black community, because our community is the open port for everybody to come and dump everything in our community, and then it goes out abroad. I'm going to play this clip, guys, and we're going to discuss it.
Group of Republican lawmakers is breaking ranks with Trump over the Venezuela strikes, questioning legality, constitutionality, and escalation risks. They are openly challenging the White House. Not all Republicans are cheering the Venezuela operation. a vocal minority is raising sharp questions about war powers, legal authority, and where this could lead. Congressman Thomas Massie is among the strongest critics. He argues the strikes and the capture of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro stretch constitutional limits. Massie questions why the administration relies on old statutes and unrelated indictments, saying if the case were solid, it wouldn't need legal gymnastics. Marjorie Taylor Greene also breaks ranks. She says the operation contradicts anti-intervention promises made to voters. Greene questions why similar force isn't used elsewhere, arguing Americans were promised an end to foreign wars, not new ones. Senator Rand Paul, a longtime opponent of military escalation, warns the strikes risk dragging the U.S. into a broader conflict. Paul has repeatedly pushed for congressional approval, calling previous actions extrajudicial and cautioning against unchecked executive power. Congressman Don Bacon raises a different concern: precedent. He warns U.S. actions could be cited by Russia or China to justify similar operations. While acknowledging potential regional impacts, Bacon signals discomfort with the global message being sent. Senator Mike Lee initially questioned the constitutional basis for the strikes before softening his stance after a classified briefing. Others, including Senator Lisa Murkowski, had earlier supported efforts to limit unauthorized military action. Still, these voices remain in the minority. Republican leadership largely backs the operation, calling it decisive and necessary. Democrats, meanwhile, broadly condemn the strikes as illegal without congressional approval, deepening the partisan divide. What's clear, the Venezuela operation has triggered not just global backlash, but a rare Republican rebellion over war powers at home.
The year of the horse, if we're riding. The perfect union has emerged. Tested at all times, always victorious, and at full speed.
Just a day before U.S. strikes rocked Venezuela and Nicolas Maduro was captured by American forces, China's top envoy to the region was meeting him face-to-face in Caracas. That meeting, held Friday at Miraflores Palace, is now believed to be Maduro's final engagement as Venezuela's president. Leading the Chinese delegation was Qi Xiaoqi, Beijing's special representative for Latin American and Caribbean affairs, joined by China's ambassador to Venezuela and senior officials. Maduro welcomed the envoy warmly. "I thank President Xi Jinping for his brotherhood," he said, calling Xi a strong leader for the world. Standing beside him was Vice President and Oil Minister Delcy Rodriguez, a reminder that energy and economics were at the center of the talks. According to Venezuelan officials, the meeting focused on strengthening what they called a new multipolar world order, one less dependent on Washington. Caracas described its partnership with Beijing as unwavering, especially in the face of what it calls unilateral coercive measures imposed by the United States. China has not released its own official readout, but Venezuelan officials said Qi Xiaoqi reaffirmed that China and Venezuela are strategic partners to the test. But within hours, the political ground shifted dramatically. Early Saturday, the United States launched strikes across Venezuela, and Nicolas Maduro was arrested by U.S. personnel.
Okay, Doc, I want your thoughts on that. But because look at how ridiculous it is. And just like the report is saying, most of the Democrats are crying foul. Doc, talk about them clowns, please.
I covered this on my show a little bit, but in practice, presidents have expanded their unilateral authority since World War II, often initiating regime changes or interventions without formal declaration, while Congress provides oversight through AUMF's post 9/11 authorizations used for broader actions or resolutions to block funding. This balance aims to ensure accountability, but has led to ongoing tensions, with critics arguing recent actions erode congressional roles. The bottom line is he can do what he's doing as long as he's doing within the confines of the budget. He's not declaring war because a declaration of war does require a budget because you might be using all branches of the military. He's using a specific segment of the military special forces that this is what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like this is special forces. This is a compartmentalized situation of what they do. They're mad right now because they're all exposed.
They're all exposed.
All of the Republicans running around like a hit dog hollering. They're all exposed and they know they're all going to go down. But the problem is, will they go down? And will we as the American people demand it? Will we demand the investigations and the tribunals that need to follow this? We need tribunals right now. If you're going to take Maduro out, fine. Anybody on the list, we need to do the tribunals and they need to be removed and they need to be arrested.
Dre?
I think that is a great assessment, Dr. Nichols. I was thinking about something like a few days ago. I was thinking back to the time that China was threatening to take over Taiwan. And they didn't make that move, right? Now, here it is with Maduro that the United States went in very strategic way, didn't declare war. There was all this buildup. They did something. And I think this really sends a message to China because for a while they were kind of touting their military superiority over us. And they've done nothing like this. And I think that it also sends a message to the rest of the world because in the president's speech, he said that, you know, they would be not open to possibly doing the same thing in Cuba. You know, he left that out there, and I was just like, people that were really mad with
You're next.
But, yeah,
He did hang it out there.
Yeah,
he did hang it out there. You know, ladies and gentlemen, you got to understand Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution that covers the presidency. And it says, the president shall be the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and the militia of the several states. When called into the actual service of the United States, he may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments. So, with that being said, folks, he utilized every agency under the executive branch to execute a limited military action, but more of a law enforcement action. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, what is the responsibility of the president of the United States? He's a law enforcement officer. That is his job. He's the principal chief executive of the laws of the United States. So
I love how was it man Thomas Massey's like he's using all these old laws, bro. They're laws.
Laws. What do you? Yeah. If they're old laws, then change the laws. Until then, he's utilizing his full executive authority, and his constitutional authority to execute the laws of the United States, whether that is foreign or domestic. That is the other key thing that everybody needs to understand is that this is not just relegated to the presidency is not just relegated to the United States, it's also to foreign powers as well. And so what are we missing here, ladies and gentlemen? These members of Congress, like you just said, Dr. Shack, a hit dog will holler. The apple cart got upset and they're mad that their little spigot of money just got cut off. That's all this is about. And that's why these cats are leaving Congress, because they know that they cannot sustain their livelihood in this capacity. They're leaving Congress so they can go in and be a lobbyist and everything else.
Yes.
But technically they have to wait 5 years before they become a lobbyist. But there's ways around that too.
But there's always TV for them.
Yeah.
There's about Donald Trump and the administration and do a tell-all book. So there's a lot of areas.
There's all of that. Yeah, exactly. But there's ways around these laws of being a lobbyist and all that. They could be advisors and they can be all that other stuff. Yeah, so they're not slick, and they can kiss the most hairiest part of my ass.
And I'm so glad you said that too, because the sad fact is that you have the Democratic Party who've been in power, who never made any moves to stop nothing. They just let it flow. Just let it flow. Whatever happens, they just let it happen to the country. And then, like I say, when they stole the election, they really showed their hand then. They came out with all these new laws. I mean, everything against the American people and patriots across this country. You know, they were arresting militia people, just like J6. That was all some bullshit. All of it. They orchestrated the riot at the Capitol. You know, so all of that, this has been a big movie for the Democrats, and they've been playing their bullshit parts, and it has been destroying our country. That's what it was. Look at our country now. It's almost in shambles to where the American people have no power. They've taken control over our schools, our communities. I mean, they're telling us what to do. They want to get rid of, see, how convenient is it? Because, see, the United States Constitution, who was created by the forefathers, was against the government. That's what the Constitution was created for, to control the government and make sure it didn't become a rogue government. That's why the American people heard the Democrats keep saying, we got to get rid of the Constitution. We need to change the Constitution. That's because the power that the Constitution has allowed President Trump to do what he did, and any true patriot and American is going to follow the Constitution, live by the rules, and that's what's making this country a threat again, and it's making the country great again because we got that paper intact. Jay, your thought about that?
Yeah, I actually want to go back to what Randy and Dr. Nichols were talking about, like really diving into the powers of the executive office. I think is so important. Yes. We have a social studies problem in the United States of America.
They don't teach it anymore.
Our government.
They don't teach civics. What?
We don't do civics anymore. So when people are complaining that the president's overstepping his power, they're not looking at the fact that he's the top executive law enforcement officer, and this guy had a $50 million bounty, and he brought him to justice so he could be tried. He's not just putting him in on a firing squad. He's going to have a chance to be tried in a court of law for the things that he's being accused of.
Yep, exactly.
So exactly. Yeah. So I hope that when we're kind of like going up over this video and things get chopped up, I hope your reels of you guys explaining the executive office is what really goes viral, because I think that's what really people need to know so they can make sense of what's actually happening, because the DEA was involved. How many times have we had like law enforcement and our military working together in unison? I don't think people have seen that, but it's within the president's right to use all those resources.
Exactly. They're all in the executive branch, you know, and so you got ladies and gentlemen, you got three branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. You know, and so we hear about the bureaucracy, the fourth, you know, unnamed branch of government. The bureaucracy is these little agencies that create rules and whatnot, but they still too fall under the executive at the end of the day. So when the president does something or he says something and people are like, oh, he's out of bounds. The check and balances of Congress, Congress writes the laws, the president enforces the laws. The judicial, the Supreme Court, they would say, okay, it's constitutional or it's unconstitutional. That's their only job. They're not to write laws. They're not to say opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, one more thing on the judiciary. Opinion is not law. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Opinion is not law. So they was like, the Supreme Court overturned that law. No, they didn't, because they don't have the authority to do so. Constitutionally, they do not have the authority. So Congress can come back and say, Supreme Court, kick rocks, guy. Thank you for your opinion, but until we write a law to retract that or change it up or whatever, it is what it is, and that's what it is. So,
absolutely.
Man, don't get me started, y'all. Don't get me started.
No, and that's what
I'm about to preach.
Man, do your thing, because it's just simple. It's those who watch this show. A lot of people are watching our show because they know that they can come and get it broke down so they can understand it. And the truth is here. We're not sugarcoating. We're not hiding. We're not lying for nobody. We telling the truth so the American people can know what actions and the way that they need to think truly about what's going on in our country, man. So if reporting would return to the way it used to be when it was unbiased, when you had good reporters who would dig into these things and report the truth, whether it was right or wrong, they put it out there so the American people could understand what's going on for sure. And so until we get to a place to where the media is honest again, because they're not going to tell us the truth. They're painting a picture because most of the media people are from the left, ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC. They are not telling the American people the truth, and they're spinning it because they hate Donald Trump so bad. Now we know, guys, why they hate the president so bad. Because they knew that at some point in time, they were going to be held accountable for what they had done in the past and what they were currently doing to steal taxpayers' money. Like I was saying earlier, and I'm going to play a clip and we're going to talk about this. Just think, look at all those other 20 cities. Look at Minneapolis. Billions of dollars have been taken. And the sad thing of it is they used the black community as the launching pad. That was their cover. So all of this money have been taken. Don't you think that in Chicago, it's the same type of fraud? In California, it's the same type of fraud.
It's easy to replicate.
It is.
And so,
what's crazy is you're talking about $20 billion, upwards of $20 billion in just one city, one state rather, in one state. Can you imagine if they just took that money and said, okay, we're going to give every resident $1 million, get out of debt, buy you a house, figure out life, don't come back and ask for shit else.
Yes.
Life would be good. Life would be good. But no, you got a small population of idiots, these pirates, these aliens, and they came in and they ransacked and raped the state of all this money and leaving us, the American people, holding the bag. And Tim Walz is like, oh, well, the Trump administration, they're politicizing this. What else should we be doing?
He put in another program. He just put in another program for millions of dollars so people can stay home with their children. If the if the wife gets pregnant or whatever, 20 weeks or whatever, and also being a home health aide to your parents, there's no guardrails. You could be living in Florida and your parent living in Minnesota and you get paid to take care of them and you're not even in the same state.
Well, that's how they were able to use the American system with that type of deception, because when you don't put any guardrails into a program, and that's what's wrong with the welfare SNAP program. I mean, all of them have some safe rails, but for them to be able to fund and give SNAP to dead people, the same way the voting rolls are, they use our voting. I mean, so what we're experiencing is from within, we are experiencing an enemy.
Somebody on the inside is pushing the button now.
Yes.
It's like, I do blame those in the Somali community that are committing the fraud, but there's somebody on the interior pushing the button and allowing the money to be sent. Somebody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I'm gonna grab another clip right quick, but I want your thoughts on this. And I'm gonna throw this in there. To the American people, especially Black citizens, I hope you have a awaken right now. I hope you understand that it is the Black leadership that has stopped us from getting reparations for what we did in slavery. It has been the preachers, the bad politicians, all of the people that we've allowed to enter to our community, just like the Somalis. They said, we got rich off y'all and y'all still on the bottom. Now that Black people can see that it's bigger than just the government that has been trying to suppress us. Your thoughts on that, Dre? What do you think about that? And what are some of the things you think about how that we know that they got all of this money and just putting it out for everybody else, but yet they're not putting it out for Black people, and still our communities are not advancing. They're dying. Your thoughts, Dre?
Yeah, so what we've seen is we've allowed the voting box to be infiltrated by illegal aliens, and they then in turn put their own people in office and made things better for them. They rubbed elbows with the right people and put fear in the right people. Because if you listen to the leadership in Minnesota, they are so scared to say anything wrong that would offend that a Somali community that they just let them do whatever. So there's a problem in checks and balances, as we've been talking about checks and balances in the government. And in order for us to get to a place where we're seeing improvement, a couple things have to happen. We have to stop as a country only hearing that Black Americans are oppressed, because like we keep hearing that narrative, and a lot of people, they just end up staying at the bottom. There's some system things involved in that, but they stay at the bottom. And then when illegal aliens or immigrants come into the country, they're told that, hey, you're in the land of the free, the home of the brave, and there's a system to put them at the forefront and get all these advantages and benefits. We should be taking advantage of those benefits. And I think that with the deportations that are happening, with the education programs that are going on, this is the prime time for Black Americans and Americans in general to step in, start to educate themselves about these benefits, and get jobs that we've had, that we should have had before, but also jobs where people who've been outside of the workforce for a long time can come in and finally get a position.
Yeah. Most definitely. Well, it's, how should I say it? It has exposed the fact that there are programs out there that can be utilized, but utilized in a proper way, right? Without the theft. And I think about, wow, what about those in the Black community? Are they really looking at, hey, wow, if they had a daycare, if they have home help, let's look into doing it, but doing it right. Right? Not defrauding people, but actually really looking at helping our own community. Okay, great. But again, it goes back to who's on the inside working with these cells, and I'm going to call them cells because they're in different locations, replicating the fraud. Who's on the inside? It has to be a network between all 50 states, because you can't just replicate literally the same thing like a blueprint book and say, you go here, this is the address you do, this is the LLC you make, this is how you file it. This, somebody is coaching these people. Just like you teach people how to get contracts, they're teaching people how to get these contracts but defraud and do it in a way that they're undetected, because this has been going on for decades. This is not something that just happened overnight. It seems like it is, but this has been going on since 2009. Everybody,
it's been going on longer than that. Guys, I'm gonna play this video, guy, and I want y'all thoughts on this, and we're gonna talk about it.
Is poisoning communities all across our country, targeting our most vulnerable, our children. It's laced in pills that people buy on the street or given to you by a friend.
Fentanyl is no longer just a drug. It's a presence, a silent fog that has rolled into our communities, settling into the cracks of our sidewalks and the quiet corners of our homes. We used to think we knew what danger looked like. A street corner deal at midnight, a desperate stranger in an alley, the stereotype of organized crime. But what if danger looked like a student walking to class? What if it looked like a tuition payment? What if the deadliest narcotics network in the Midwest wasn't hiding in a fortress, but beneath the manicured lawns of an international university campus? Minneapolis, Minnesota. A city known for its lakes, its brutal winters, and its progressive politics. But at 4 a.m., while the city sleeps, a different machine is running. This story didn't begin with a drug bust. It didn't begin with a tip from an informant. It began with a political firestorm that blinded almost everyone to what was really happening. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar made a public statement that grabbed national headlines. She claimed that her brother had been stopped by ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, right here in Minnesota. But this wasn't just a standard claim of harassment. This was the same man at the center of the explosive, long-standing allegation that Omar had married him, her own brother, to fraudulently bypass U.S. citizenship laws. The media cycle spun into overdrive. Debates about immigration policy, racial profiling, and immigration fraud filled the airwaves for days. But while the cameras were focused on the Congresswoman and her controversial brother, federal intelligence units were looking at something else entirely. They were looking at a video that was spreading like wildfire across social media. The video didn't come from a politician. It came from a young Somali student named Tariq Juma. He wasn't debating policy. He was making a promise. Filmed on a smartphone, Juma looked directly into the lens. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't frantic. He was calm, deliberate, and terrifyingly precise.
I actually heard you guys pull up to Owatonna, the Big O. And you pulled up when I was not there? Yo, so puss ash, boy. You gonna get popped next time I see you at. Bring the whole cavalry.
He warned that if ICE agents entered his neighborhood, he wouldn't just protest. He would hunt them down. He said he'd heard they pulled up to Owatonna when he wasn't there, and next time they showed up, they'd get popped. He told them to bring the whole cavalry. In an era where threats against federal officers have risen by more than 300% nationwide, this wasn't just teenage bravado, it was an operational threat. Federal surveillance units tagged it immediately. An apology can be withdrawn, but a risk cannot. Investigators began to dig. They pulled the threads of Juma's connections. They mapped his digital footprint. And what they found wasn't a political protest movement. It was the edge of a spider web that stretched so deep into the fabric of Minneapolis that even the agents were unprepared for what they were about to touch. The threat led them to a neighborhood near the university, and that neighborhood led them to a body count. While the public argued about the viral video, the data told a darker story. Federal analysts began connecting the dots to a silent epidemic that had been plaguing the residential areas surrounding the university. Overdoses, hospitalizations, emergency calls. In less than a year, these incidents had surged by 260%. Let that sink in. A 260% increase. These weren't your typical statistics. This wasn't happening in known drug zones or notorious neighborhoods. It was happening near student dormitories. It was touching working-class families, elderly residents, and international academic communities, people who had never before been touched by organized, street-level crime. Something had changed. The supply was too consistent, the purity was too high, and the distribution was too invisible. Unmarked vehicles were spotted moving repeatedly through these quiet zones. They didn't linger. They arrived, paused, and vanished. It was disciplined. It was military. But the smoking gun wasn't on the street. It was in the bank records. Financial crimes units began tracking a series of bizarre transactions linked to accounts in the district. They found what investigators call micropayments, small, harmless-looking transfers of $50, $100, $200. Individually, they looked like students splitting a dinner bill or paying for textbooks. But when analysts pulled back and looked at the macro view, the pattern was unmistakable. These seemingly random payments were repeating again and again, flowing from hundreds of different sources into a layered network of accounts.
Your thoughts on that, Randy?
Oh man, you know what? that kid. The thing about these jokers these days, they get brazen on social media, and they talk all this yin yang and make these threats like they just all powerful. And maybe some of them are, maybe they are, and to their own, little community. But when you sit there and you tell them federal agents, come get me next time you come in my neighborhood, you're gonna get popped. It's like, dude, you just asked to go to war with the United States government. Do you understand that? Did you not just see what happened with Maduro?
Yes, exactly.
So I hold no credence to these kind of folks. But in a larger grand scheme of things, what these agents are doing, they have the capability to cut off the funding, redirect funding at that, and all of this, but they're not. So it's a perpetual game that's being played intentionally, by the way, by everybody involved. this is what pays the bills. This is what keeps everybody employed. So it is what it is.
Well, that's the thing about it, and the fact of the matter is, Dre, your thoughts on what you saw on that last clip?
Yeah, that last clip just sums up the importance of what President Trump is doing in Venezuela. He's dealing with the drug problem. Remember Kamala Harris when she was saying, when she was appointed by Joe Biden to deal with the root causes. Now someone deals with the root cause of a problem, which right now, fentanyl, part of the problem is people like Venezuela being buddy with the cartels. He goes there, he solves that problem, then they complain that he overstepped his bounds. We have another problem where a third of Venezuelans are in some sort of diaspora leaving the country because the country is so bad. He deals with the leader that's in charge. He asked him, hey, why don't you just go to another country, take your money, you can live cushy, we're not going to chase you, just get out of the country, and we're going to fix everything. He refused. He was dancing and imitating President Trump. And he effed around and he found out, and now he's in custody for his crimes, that he's been charged with allegedly.
And that's the thing. I think that the American people and patriots across this country, we need to see more of what President Trump is doing, because a lot of people was crying because, Dre, happened Saturday, me, you, and Mr. Binky was going around on the constitutionality of it all, thinking that, okay, Trump is being a dictator. But it wasn't a war that he went after. It was a law enforcement operation. And that's what made the difference for me, that he did something positive by taking out the Venezuela leader who was an open door to America to bring drugs into our communities. All right, guys, ready? Your last words. We got to get up out of here.
Hey, thank you for the great discussion today, Pastor. I would say for the American people, before you cast an opinion or you listen to those talking heads, double check, do your research. Think about, look at different perspectives, and think about, what it is that you're getting your information from. And if that's not a credible and valid source of information, stop getting your information from that source. I know it's hard for people to do that these days, but it's very vitally important, because otherwise you run around, you looking like an idiot, and you come across my page or I come across your page and you're doing this and you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm gonna go full in on you, and I don't give a damn. So, but hey, y'all can follow me on rperm.com. All social media platforms at rperm, and you catch my show that's about to air here shortly. Thanks, and I will holler at y'all.
Hey, Dre, your last words.
Yeah, when we talk about checks and balances, as Randy and Dr. Nichols are bringing to the forefront, we really have to remember that at the end of the day, we are a sovereign nation and we have to protect our interests. And a lot of times our elected officials are playing lip service to it. 40% of them have an F grade with on based on their voting record with immigration, and they're not doing anything about it. Trump goes and he does something about it, and they have a problem with it. So my final thoughts is, like Randy, do your own research, really try to look at history, the truth, and wait to see the results of what's happening. If we find out that this doesn't go as planned, then you can push back against it. Or if other leaders around the world start doing the same thing with bad intentions, then we could probably say maybe it wasn't a good idea. But we have yet to see those things, and I think that people should wait, pause, look at history, and make before they make a judgment about what's happening.
Dre, I want to thank you for coming back in and out, man, because I know you wanted to be on this show. I got a surprise for you. We finna rock the house one time.
All right.
And these are my last words, folks. Thank you. I'll see you guys maybe Wednesday. We might do it again and do an update. Thank you, my brother. God bless you. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. We really try to bring information to the American people and patriots across this country. So let me drop my last words on to what I want to talk about.
To all the teachers that told me I never amount to nothing. To all the people that lived above the buildings that I was.
To the American people and patriots across this country. And to the black community. If we are to rise, we have to stop fooling ourselves. We have to look at this country and see what it has done and what it is doing, and what it has not done to be truthful to the black community. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the black community is suffering. Everybody come here and get rich. We got people in our community ain't paying no dues, but yet they overlooking black people and act like everything is all good. To black people across the country, it's time for us to rise up, take our communities back. Because if Trump is going to make this country great again, then the black community need to rise up out the ashes. We got to get rid of the bad leadership and put people in office who will be concerned not about the money they make, but how they can create a new black community where we can be just like everybody else and our communities thrives with our own businesses and the black dollar stay in the black community. And until we see that, and if the black community does not rally around President Trump and we set out to do our own thing, then we'll always be left behind and we'll always be last. Just like the Somali says, I came here, I stole, I'm much better than you, and you're still at the bottom of the totem pole. I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show. Y'all share it around. Go to our new channel, LetTheTruthBeTold.lightcast.com, and watch the show. God bless you. Happy New Year. And let's put God first so we can make this country great again. Talk to you later. Peace.
Super dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this. 50-inch screen, money green, leather sofa. Got 2 rides, a limousine with the chauffeur. Phone bill about 2 G's flat. No need to worry, my accountant handles that. And my whole crew's lounging, celebrating every day, no more public housing. Thinking back on my one-room shack, now my mom pimps a act with mix on her back. And she loves to show me off, of course. Smiles every time my face is up in the stores. We used to fuss when the landlord dissed us. No heat, wonder why Christmas missed us. Birthdays was the worst days. Now we sip champagne when we thirsty. Damn right, I like the life I live. Cause I went from negative to positive, and it's all. And if you don't know, now you know, nigga.